This is the OnePlus 8 Pro. As far as I'm concerned, this is the gold standard for Android. Not to go full-blown Shakespearean and introduce with a conclusion, but if you're looking for the best of the best Android phone, look no further. Now that isn't to say that everything is rainbows and unicorns with this phone. There's some, dare I say, very strange quirks and some minor step backs with this device. In my opinion, the biggest step back is the hole punch. I really don't like the hole punch. You see, it used to be a pop-up camera, and besides it just looking really cool and really futuristic, it also allowed for a very immersive full-screen experience that I do kind of yearn for. Now yes, this is probably a move to further protect against water damage and seal in that IP rating, pun intended, but I really do miss it. Now is this a deal breaker? Absolutely not. Mostly because the screen is just so fucking good. But you know the deal, it's 120 hertz. That is so many hertz. But it has a hell of a lot of colors, it's really sharp. You're not gonna find a better screen out there. That's it. Now my one complaint about the screen, if you can even really consider it to be a complaint about the screen, is the in-screen fingerprint sensor. Now I've had a troubled past, if you will, with fingerprint sensors. I don't know if it's the fact that I have a broken fingerprint, but every time I try and use an in-screen fingerprint sensor, specifically with OnePlus phones, I always struggle. Sometimes it's just incredibly finicky, and other times it'll just straight up refuse to work. Now that could absolutely just be a me thing, but consequently, I just use the somewhat less secure face unlock, and that does it. Now you might be questioning, with 120 hertz and a Quad HD Plus display, how's battery life? And honestly, it's not that bad. It lasts me pretty comfortably through the day, and I'm happy with that. Now one upside is OnePlus has implemented wireless charging into the 8 Pro. Finally. You see, OnePlus had to fix wireless charging first and implement it into this proprietary charger. A charger that I'm not going to bring around with me everywhere, if I might add. But I guess for me, wireless charging has always been more of a convenience thing as opposed to a speed thing. So while I'm glad that they made wireless charging incredibly fast, I would have just preferred if they had included any regular form of wireless charging into these phones ages ago. But I digress. It's fast, it's cool, and it's interesting to see this technology. Now the one thing I will note about wireless charging is when you're just throwing this phone on a normal wireless charging pad as opposed to the proprietary one that OnePlus sells, you can't sit it flat on the charger. You have to actually place it on the camera bump to be able to engage with the coil. It's really not a big deal, it's just kind of funny to me.
Brandon? Is that?
Hi, yeah, no, I'm just polishing my floors with this new dbrand skin. It's
skin?
Really rugged. This video is actually sponsored by dbrand.
Brandon, did you do this? Did you do this?
No.
Brandon, you know what we
So listen, I'm not sure if dbrand condones the use of their skins for sanding or shining your floors, but it works. dbrand makes a lot of cool colors and textures for the back of your phone to either spice things up or, yet again, protect you from ghouls or goblins. But seriously, their link is down in the description. It helps me out, it helps them out, and it also helps your phone out. Okay, bye. But OnePlus continues to make small things really incredible. I feel like that's a resounding theme with OnePlus. For instance, the haptic motor is really quality. I'd say it's a close second to Apple's haptic system. But even small little UI things, like being able to hide the labels on home screen apps, it's just those little elements that all add up to a greater experience. Now, I'd say one of the biggest shortcomings from previous OnePlus phones of past years has always been the camera. And OnePlus has stepped it up. Between the bigger sensor, color calibration, and just overall post-processing, images look really good. Now I will say, inherently because the sensor is a lot bigger, one of the issues that I would dock the OnePlus cameras for is just the fact that it tends to over-sharpen areas that will be naturally out of focus because of the very thin plane of focus. This results in just kind of an over-processed, grimy look. And now another thing that I'll say about the camera is just from an editing perspective. These photos are not exactly the easiest to edit. While for the most part, these photos look really great coming out of camera, pulling them into an editing app, they tend to fall apart really easily. Even shooting in raw manual mode, I can't quite edit these photos in the same way I would an iPhone photo or a Pixel photo. It's almost like they have too much baked into the actual capture. Colors, band, details seemingly get lost. It's weirdly an issue that I haven't really seen with any other smartphone cameras. But main point, Photos at least look really, really great 90% of the time just right out of the camera, so I guess that's kind of the saving grace. There is probably a whole lot more to dive into here, but that's probably for another video. But listen, this is a great phone, a great big phone at that too. It's actually so big that I kind of have to wedge it into the wireless charger in my car. But nevertheless, it's still a great phone. But OnePlus is just building on an already strong foundation. They're killing the competition, and with that, the OnePlus 8 Pro is nothing less than a flagship. This is the OnePlus 8 Pro. I just turned on the flashlight.
He also creeped you.